Welcome to Nifty Notions from So Very Easy. My name is Laura, and have you ever had a pair of stretch knit pants that you needed to fix because every time you wore them, the threads would snap, or perhaps the hem needed to be taken up? A t-shirt needs to be fixed, or you want to sew something that is a stretch knit. Well, all of stretch knit fabric needs to be stitched a little bit differently because, well, it stretches, and sometimes the thread just doesn't stretch along with it. Well, there is a new thread on the market, and it does stretch. It stretches 65% more than any other thread. It's not an elastic thread, but it's a thread designed to sew stretch knits. And you are going to be very surprised on how easy it is to work with. This thread looks like normal thread and acts like normal thread. However, it is designed for stretch knits. The company is Mettler, and the thread is called Seraflex. And it does stretch. Now, this is not going to take place of an elastic thread, but it is going to take place of regular thread when we're going to sew anything with a stretch knit. This is going to go in the top of the machine and in the bottom of the machine. The white thread is just a regular thread, and the red is the Seraflex thread. And as we know, when we do stretch regular thread, it will snap, which leaves us with little holes in our thread. But the Seraflex thread doesn't snap and break, so it stretches with the fabric, which means when we need to do a hem, it really takes a lot of the trouble out of it. So I've just rolled over a hem, have put a straight stitch on, the bobbin and the top have that Seraflex thread, and it stretches. So I do not have any breakage at all. I will be able to now hem all of my knit pants and not have to use an overlock machine or a special stitch. And if you have a fabric that does not fray, we don't even have to worry about turning them over. It's just going to stretch and stay nice. Even if we need to do a decorative or a zigzag stitch, it really stretches, comes back to normal, and stays nice. It works great for those side seams, but if we do need to open up a seam, it really does hold well, and it looks nice. So we have that flat seam, and now we can open up the seams, and it's going to stay nice. As with all sewing, we do need the right thread to match the right fabric and the right needle. So I would recommend a stretch or a jersey to stitch along this fabric. It works great on the cuddle and that minky fabric. So for making those quick quilts with the cuddle and minky, we don't have to worry about that thread breaking. Now I do put it on the top and the bobbin, but when we put it on the bobbin, we do not want to put extra pressure, so we don't want to stretch the thread as we put it on the bobbin. And I have a very simple way we can do that. When I set up the machine to fill the bobbin, I do want the machine to run very, very slowly. We can change the speed, so we do want it very, very slow. The other thing we're going to want to do is instead of using the horizontal spool, we're going to use a vertical spool. The vertical spool is just going to make it so the thread is coming off very straight, so it's not twisting as it comes off. When we put them on the horizontal, we usually will put a pin to hold this. And if not, this is sort of bouncing around. So if you have the vertical pin, this is definitely the time to use it. I only will put it on one guide. Sometimes we will wrap it around so that the thread crosses. So it ends up with a little cross up at the top. For this, have it so that there is no cross. And that's going to loosen up the pressure. So I'm coming from the spool and coming right over. We'll put the bobbin on just like we would normally have, but we have one straight line. There's no twists, and this is going to run very smoothly. And we've slowed down that speed. And it's going to go on really easily. You can see that this is running very smoothly, and there's not a lot of tension on this thread. So the thread has gone on nice and smoothly. It's not all jumbled up, but it's also not pulled. We can now use this just like we would normally any bobbin. And to stitch, we can put this right back on the spool. We can put that spool cap back on and thread the machine how we would normally thread it. We can also test a piece and have that tension go a little bit lighter or a little bit stronger. So far, I have found I have not needed to adjust my machine. I have the stretch needle on, the bobbin was done up so it wasn't too tight, and I was just able to sew. So I am sewing a really stretchy t-shirt fabric, and without touching the machine, you'll be able to see how well this can sew. And there's been no adjustments made whatsoever. And we have a beautiful straight stitch. No gathering, and it stretches. So for garment making, repairs, alterations, this is definitely the kind of thread that we need. And with many colors, we're sure to find the color that we are going to need. Sewing that straight stitch and it stretches means we do not need to do the repairs a second time. I'll put a link in the description so you can check it out. And as always, thank you for joining me today on Sew Very Easy. Feel free to subscribe and come on back. Let's see what we're talking about next time in the sewing room. Bye for now.